Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the May 11th, 2016 edition of the Midweek Update here on Rasslin with Redbeard. In case you were confused, no, WWE Shop will not be selling vehicle anti-theft devices. When they say the club, they're talking about those guys who used to be in the Bullet Club. Number 5 story of the week is that EC3 showed up at an Evolve event and got all shooty. This is a crazy story. A lot of moving pieces to this, so we're going to try and cover it all. You had a main event match happening at Evolve 61 that involved Drew Galloway and Johnny Gargano. Gargano, of course, is a guy who's worked with NXT and a number of other independent companies all around the world. Drew Galloway, of course, is also a Evolve talent, but he's also the TNA World Heavyweight Champion at this point in time. And then EC3 gets involved, comes out, attacks Johnny Gargano, and goes into a promo which is basically just him spitting fire about his experiences in NXT and in developmental as a whole. He talked about Hugh Morris and even referenced a few things in regard to how he had to work 6-minute matches and his redemption points and whatever else that he was forced to go through there. But just a crazy scenario, not only from the standpoint that suddenly he was involved, but that the whole thing now is this mixture of a combination of talent that are aligned with various promotions taking place at an independent event. Like I mentioned before, you've got a TNA World Champion, a TNA signed talent in the form of EC3, Johnny Gargano, a guy who works with NXT, you might as well go ahead and say, other talents on the Evolve roster who are also with NXT, and all this is happening at an independent event in upstate New York. Crazy scenario. But it was great because of the fact that, well, this is probably going to be something that was a little bit later on be found out to be, an arranged, orchestrated type of thing. It's great because of the fact that it creates confusion. It creates this mythos of just the unknown, and that's a great thing in my opinion because forever we as wrestling fans, and myself personally, have felt as though we know what's going to happen 2 weeks in advance. And that's just by virtue of things being taped. It's by virtue of internet leaks, things being out there in the wild. But this is a great scenario because suddenly we're now looking at this with googly eyes because nobody knows what happens and nobody knows what's going on next. The other thing that I mentioned in regard to the story is that even though you've got all this going on to where TNA is of course a part of this mixture, they're the losers in this whole thing because you've got their talent that's being kind of pushed to the side almost. Well, they're pushed to the side is the wrong way of saying it. They're not being recognized in this whole thing because people know who is being referenced in, for example, EC3's promo there. They know who is who. But at the same time, TNA is not getting the rub off of this, not like an NXT will, or certainly not like Evolve will. So, crazy scenario, but a fantastic one at the same time, and definitely something that we're going to continue to pay attention to, not only as the Global Cruiserweight Series continues to evolve, but also as the overall picture of the independent scene changes with the involvement of all these different companies. So definitely something to look forward to down the road. Number 4 story of the week is that Ryback is involved with a contract dispute with WWE. This is a story that has taken a bit of a life of its own here in the past week or so since it was revealed that Ryback was not really traveling with the roster anymore. It's been an evolution of things since the Payback pay-per-view, where a lot of people noticed, oh, well, he did that. That's got to be a troll at CM Punk because they were in Chicago. If you didn't catch it, what he did was he knelt down and did Punk's old clobbering time routine where he would come out of the curtain, kneel down, push up some dirt and look at his wrist and yell, it's clobbering time. Ryback did the same thing. And a lot of people thought at that moment in time that it might have been him trying to poke fun at Punk. Well, in actuality, it sounds as though it could be him more or less referencing Punk and saying, hey, I kind of get what you were doing here now and trying to stand up for yourself because it's been revealed that Ryback is trying to maybe do something that's noble I won't say holding out for a contract, but at least in trying to have guys on the roster recognized for their contribution to the product. He let out a statement on Twitter and via social media where he more or less talked about how there are guys in WWE who go out there to do their jobs. They never really get the recognition that they should, even though they're just as talented as the guys who are at the top of the roster making 10 or 12 times as much money. And that's a noble thing to say. However, even though wrestling is a predetermined sport to where you've got people who are, chosen to be certain characters based on their skill level and their talent and what have you. It's still one of those things to where that guy has got to go out there and perform and make it successful. Otherwise, the t-shirt sales that come his way, the product endorsements, whatever else it may be, it's still his responsibility to go out there and get that stuff done. And if he can't, then guess what? There's going to be somebody else to take his spot. So it is kind of a noble thing that he's doing, but it's also kind of a silly thing at the same time. And it's, according to him, it's not over money. It's not over, his position in the company or any type of accoutrements he might get. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here. But at the point in time that this is being recorded, he's not on the roster as far as a traveling active member. He's sitting at home, more or less waiting until the end of his contract comes up. It's been revealed here in the past couple of days that his merchandise on WWE Shop has all been discounted, so that's not necessarily a good sign, but they could work something out. So we'll have to see what happens to the big guy as he stands up to the little guy. Yeah, little jobbers. Number 3 story of the week is that Adam Rose has come back to blame ADHD medication for his wellness violations. This is a continuation of the story we've been following for a little while here. We mentioned on a previous edition of the midweek update that there had been no further statement from Adam Rose, other than his initial statement talking about how he believed that he was committing career suicide and coming out and trying to stand up for himself. But it may or may not come to pass that he might be, in fact, saving his neck as far as this is concerned. He did publish a couple of notes that are believed to be notes from his physician that depict something of a timetable for when he was prescribed his medication. It's one of these things, though, that it's going to have to be a very well documented set of things that will either prove him, I'll say innocent, or will prove him guilty. The difficult part here is that you're talking about a medication that even in the case of a company more or less saying, okay, well, certain things are valid, a lot of times ADHD medication is not one of those, just because of the fact that it's so widely abused and has a number of substance-related issues, put it that way. But it also is a very valid medication as well. So it'll take some work on the part of Adam Rose, obviously, to get this thing cleared up. It's possible that it will. It's also possible that it won't. And if it doesn't, it goes back to what he was saying before about this potentially being career suicide for him, at least as it relates to his career in WWE. We'll have to wait and see what happens. It's probably something that will not get played out quickly if it is pursued in a court of law. I hate to see it go that far, but it just kind of depends on how far Adam wants to take this thing at this point in time. We'll have to wait and see. Number 2 story of the week is that evidently Prince was a professional wrestling fan, or at least he had some stuff that he was working on that had pro wrestling references tied to it. Unfortunately, Prince did pass away here a number of weeks ago. He was a prolific guitarist and musician, very vivacious individual, but unfortunately he did leave a number of works either unfinished or we'll say just unpublished. He evidently had a secret vault in his home, and a lot of these works have been found since his death. There were a number of them, as we mentioned, that had ties to pro wrestling. One of the more interesting ones, evidently, is what looks to be a nearly completed documentary on the life and times of Koko B. Ware. Of course, Koko was a WWE Hall of Famer that was narrated by Morris Day. That just sounded incredibly interesting. I'll go ahead and say that I hope that does see the light of day, pun intended, because it just sounds like a project that would be really cool to experience. But then on the other hand, he also had a couple of things that were either left unfinished or just were kicked around and left in some back corner of this vault here that had sort of code names associated with them. One of them was codenamed Botwinkle, which was apparently a hard rock project that he was working on with former WCW writer who was a man by the name of Bob Mould. Also, he had a second project that was dubbed The Undertaker, which people aren't as impressed by, unfortunately, because evidently it's some type of a live studio recording that's been bootlegged a number of times throughout Prince's career, so that evidently is something that's already out there. But yeah, kind of crazy to think that someone like that would have ties to pro wrestling. Just don't always think of someone who's a massive celebrity like Prince was being a fan of something like good old square circle action, but maybe he was. Unfortunately, we can't ask him now. And the number one story of the week is the Axeman cometh to WWE. This is not a surprising thing. It happens pretty much every year after WrestleMania, to where the WWE roster is trimmed. Either for a number of reasons, could be creative, could be monetary, could be, just some cases a guy wants to leave. It happens. But we had what we think are at least 8 talents that have been let go thus far. There may be more coming from what we've been hearing. Whether or not it actually happens remains to be seen, but the rumor is there could be more on the way. The list at this point in time includes talents such as Cameron, Hornswoggle, Torito, Alex Riley, Santino Marella. Who knew Santino Marella still had a contract? I was very confused by that. I thought he had been retired for a number of years and just evidently he's been getting paid for doing whatever he wants to do, sit at home. So if anybody wants to give me a job like that, that'd be great. Just go ahead and put that out there. Wade Barrett, Zeb Coulter, and the one that really surprised everyone was Damian Sandow. I think in the case of Wade Barrett, there's no surprise there because he essentially wanted out of his contract anyway and wanted to go on and be able to do some of his other projects. So it looked as though he was just saying, okay, you guys can go ahead and kick me to the curb. I'm fine with this now. But in the case of someone like Damian Sandow, you've got a guy, I'm going to put this out there, who's only guilty of getting himself over when others couldn't get themselves over. And you know what I'm talking about here. Sandow, much like Zack Ryder and other guys in the past, have been successful in getting themselves to a point where the crowd loves them and would take anything out of their hand they're giving. But it's not in the cards for them. It's not on the program, not in the script, as it were. So they have to do whatever they're going to do, and that is do their jobs. It's unfortunate, but that's the way the system works. And it's kind of unfortunate for a number of these talents because some of them have been with the company for a long time, like Hornswoggle, for example. He was coming upon being with WWE for almost a decade. Yeah, imagine that. But someone like Sandow will obviously be okay. He's not going to be looking for work long, I'm sure. Same goes for pretty much all these guys and girls. If they want to show up somewhere else, they'll be just fine. It's the great thing about exposure in WWE is that people know who you are, and in most cases will pay whatever you ask in terms of an appearance fee. Just have to wonder though, what happens to some of these folks on down the road, especially someone like Cameron. She, I'll go ahead and say, is probably one of the worst examples of someone who got pushed through the Diva system. Just didn't really ever have anything there. So we'll have to wait and see what happens to these folks. Like I say, though, they'll probably be fine. They've been getting paid a good bit of money a year for a good number of years, so hopefully they haven't been too silly with their spending. Hopefully they've been keeping most of it and haven't been buying houses and shoes and everything else there, or God knows what kind of cars some of these people drive. At any rate, we are driving on down the road ourselves here, potentially towards some shows this weekend. I want to go ahead and mention the fact that this is one of those special weekends that we've talked about here on the program before and in the Rasslin with Redbeard main show as well. This is a weekend where there is a lot going on. We should be thankful that we have this much going on. However, I will say there is a lot going on this weekend. Between this show, when we tape on Tuesdays, and when we will tape again next week, there are at least 16 shows happening. 16. That's between North Carolina, South Carolina, and what little bit of Georgia I actually look into when it comes to trying to do prep for this program. 16. That's a lot of wrestling. A whole lot. I almost want to say something negative about it, but I'm not going to because it's a lot of wrestling, and it's here, and it's around where we live, and we don't have to drive a whole long way to get to some of it, which is fantastic. And involved in all of that, it's not just independence. We've got actually 2 WWE events happening. There will be one that's coming up on this Sunday, May 15th at the Colonial Life Arena in Columbia, South Carolina. And then on the 17th, Next week, there will be a SmackDown taping up in Greenville at Bon Secours Arena up there. Great town, Greenville. If you've never been able to go see downtown Greenville, definitely go check it out. Probably next to Charleston is, I'd say, my favorite city in South Carolina. Just a cool place to go hang out and visit. Regardless, let's go ahead and roll these cool posters for you. Like I say, there's 16 of them, so go ahead and get your popcorn. Gonna be here for a little bit, and we'll be back in a few minutes to come back with you and finish up the show. All right, there you have it, our rundown of the events that are coming your way this weekend. If you're a wrestler, a promoter, or in some way involved with the wrestling promotion, and you didn't see your poster in that part of the show, it's because we didn't know about it. We do our best to peruse social media to keep abreast of what's happening in this part of the world, but we do miss things. That said, if you would send us a line via YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or any of the means of communication we have here on the channel, we'd be glad to get your stuff out there so that people can know about what you're bringing to the scene. A big part of what we do on Rasslin Redbeard is to promote the shows and the talent in this area. Appreciate you guys tuning in once again. If you enjoyed the program this week, please go ahead and click that like button. And if you really enjoy what we've got on the channel here, go ahead and click subscribe. That way you'll be the first to know whenever we've uploaded something new, like a midweek update, a match video, a highlight clip, or maybe even a Rasslin Redbeard main show. Yeah, those are rare. They do come around every once in a while, though. Appreciate you guys tuning in once again. We'll see you next week.